All right, what's up, everybody? Good morning. You like how I turned that on, Armando? You turn on the charm just like that. What's up, guys? Good morning. Oh, we have someone popping in.
You turned it on to 11. You
That's
went
the
from
that's the performer in me, man. That's the
you were
performer
like
in me.
"Ring."
Yeah,
I know.
exactly. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Tuesday at 10. Thank y'all for taking time out of your busy schedules. We have Jennifer popping in. Hey, Jennifer, good
Hey,
morning.
Jennifer.
Okay, you're on mute too, but that's okay.
Sorry. Good morning. It's been that kind of day.
That's okay. It's been that kind of day. It's only 10 o'clock, but sometimes it racks up fast, right? You feel like it's
Yeah,
already 5 o'clock, ready for a cocktail at 10 a.m., right?
it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's right. Well, cool, guys. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. Let's get started with what's been going on in y'all's neck of the woods. We have Liz from San Antonio, Jennifer from Harlingen, Armando from Brownsville, Josie and me from Weslaco. We got people from all over here. So, what's going on? We'll start with Jennifer. How are things going? What are some wins in your neck of the woods? I know you got some contracts and got some good stuff. So tell us about it.
So Thursday we closed. I closed a house that was very good. Clients were good. Struggled with the title company though. And then put a contract was accepted last night.
All right,
And yeah,
congratulations.
and I have a closing on the 12th that's
All
going over.
right, excellent.
So, and then I put in another contract earlier in the weekend and that's closing June 3rd.
Excellent. And remind everyone here, Jennifer, how long have you been licensed?
Since September.
All right, excellent. Excellent. So you're on fast track. You got a lot of good stuff going on.
Thank you.
So September, but let's see, when did you start with EXP? Was it that long ago?
No, I didn't start, I don't think officially till either end of November or very beginning of December.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like it's been less time than that. So like November, December.
Yeah.
So in, 3 to 4 months, you have a lot of good stuff going on. You have more activity than a lot of agents that have been in the business for 10 years, 15 years. So congratulations and kudos to you. You're really kicking butt out there. Congratulations.
Thank you. I've been blessed. God's really blessed me.
Yes. You've been blessed with a great mentor. No, I'm
Yeah,
just kidding.
no, it's true.
I'm just kidding.
But I did make the goal of 12 this year. So I'm really trying. I know you told me
You
that's a
can do
big
it.
ask,
I know you can do
but
it.
that's
I know
my
you can
goal.
do it. Well, good.
That's
Congratulations. Armando, how's everything going with you, man? What's the latest in Brownsville? What do you have? You have any projects going on? Any building projects? Any good clients? What's the latest?
Not much, honestly. It's been kind of slow, so I've been using the time to like doing my GRI classes and stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm just taking the trying to be productive and just reinvesting in education, stuff like that. But yeah, I did. Harlingen seems to be a little hot right now. I did two offers and they were both rejected. They were like, no, it needs to be higher. And I'm like, oh wow, I'm not familiar with that. I guess I'm not as familiar with Harlingen as I thought, but it's seems like houses are moving a lot more up there.
Well, and
Arlington's
I
pretty
think
active.
I've been seeing this a lot. Buyers have a lot more choices. You know what I mean? So I think if it's a property that's priced well, that shows really well, I think, multiple offers are coming back. We're seeing them more and more. So there was a property. I have a gentleman actually in Brownsville, Armando, and it's a investment style house, and this is a little more to be expected. But the guy has 15 offers on it, man.
Wow.
15 offers on it. And it's under 200,000. It's not a super distressed, it's not like a complete teardown or something like that. It needs some work and stuff like that, but and I think it's in the high 190s that they priced it at. And the buyer customer wanted to come in, had to factor in some reno and stuff like that. And I talked to the listing agent. He said, we have 15 offers. So you better bring it, highest
Yeah,
and
that's
best.
crazy.
And so, yeah, we're seeing that a lot. But
More competition for sure.
yeah, a lot of competition. Competition's heating up. And I think it comes down to again, if it's priced well, even if it is in not the best condition, if the price reflects that, we're seeing, action, a lot of action. So cool. Liz, what's going on with you? How's everything going in San Antonio? I think you have some good stuff going, have some contracts in the works. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I went under contract a week ago. It's all about working our sphere, right? Naturally, not no need to be pushy once you've been really in real estate for a while and people know you and they know what you do. I think they have the tendency to reach out to someone they trust and feel comfortable with. I think that's ultimately the key for buyers when, they just want somebody to work with that they're going to be comfortable with. So this person happened to be in my sphere. It's one of the soccer moms, and she was ready to pull the trigger on a Perry home, and we took care of it right away. And it was raining and nasty, and she wanted to go all the way out to Bernie to see the model home because that's the only place they had the actual model home that she wanted. Even though we're buying over here closer to Shirts, Cibolo area. But anyway, I hopped in the car. We went out to Bernie and she loved it, and the rest is history. So we're under contract there. She's excited to go to the design center next week. That's the earliest they had available or something like that. So again, they just, as long as people know that we're real estate agents and, conversations happen naturally, I think that business, the longer you're in business, the more people just know you're there and they're ready to work with you. So that one is in the works, and I have three buyers. One of them looking more aggressively. The other two, they're just kind of hanging in there. So I'm trying to keep them excited because one of them really wants something and it's above his price range, but he's praying something happens right there. So we're keeping a close eye on the market there. But yeah, I think it'll be a busy summer is what it looks like for buyers on my side anyways. I
Yeah.
have a listing and the seller is ready to drop that price because we started at the high end and he knew it. He was just going to try to see if they would take a bite, but it's not happening. So like you said earlier, those prices have to reflect the age and condition of the home. The home condition is good. It's the age. It's an older home and it's smaller. So we're about to make that happen and hopefully get that sold quickly with this price drop that he wants to do. So yeah, just staying busy.
That's great. That's great. All good stuff. And I have to say, I wanted to comment on, talking about staying out there and staying in front of people. So Liz just posted about her son, Sebastian, and she was mentioning that his friends at school get jealous of his homemade lunches, right, Liz?
Yes, I wanted to choke him.
And then we find out later in the post that he's been selling the homemade lunches that Liz makes for him to his friends for $2, right, Liz?
Yes, guys, I wake up super early to make these meals if I don't have them, ready from the night before. And, he's a little athlete. So I'm trying to keep him healthy. And here
Yeah.
I'm putting in the work to feed him well. And, his friends say, man, that looks good. And I guess he, gave them a taste. Oh, wow, your mom cooks good. And yeah, he's been selling them for $2. And I thought, oh
He's an
my gosh, you're going
entrepreneur,
to get,
Liz, like his mom. He's an
he
entrepreneur.
oh my gosh, he negotiates everything he possibly can. So he's a negotiator, yes. I tell him he
That
needs to do real estate. I'm training him.
that is so funny. And the reason I bring that up is, not only is it a funny story, but I think it goes testament to people like to see what's going on in your day-to-day life. Like I saw the picture of Sebastian holding the $2 and it was hilarious, right? So kudos to you and encouragement to everybody else. Put stuff out there about your day-to-day. Put stuff out there about, funny things that are happening, crazy experiences that you're going through, you know, funny encounters or things that are happening with your kids. all that stuff goes a long way. People get a kick out of it, and people feel connected. It encourages that deeper connection. It's more than just surface, like, hey, I have another house, or I'm just showing, or just listed. It really lets people into to who you are, and that's really important. So kudos to you, Liz, for sharing that, and keep up the good work. Armando's super active on social. So is Jennifer. Jennifer's doing great. Josie, of course. And I always try. And Liz, I see your stuff out there about soccer and your kids and your family, and posting the Spurs colors on your lights outside the house. All that stuff is super cool. So keep all that stuff up, and people are going to reciprocate, and you'll get a lot of engagement with those little personal touches. So keep that stuff going. And Josie, I know you might have to pop off here. Josie has a super busy day. How are things going with you? What's going on in your neck of the woods? Some good stuff, a lot of stuff in the media space. Tell us about it.
Yeah, no, for the sake of time, I'll just keep mine short. No, working with I'm currently in my contract role with EXP Corporate, helping them build out a few programs. So I have one more month with them, just kind of building stuff out. And really, it's been really good as far for my business because it's been giving me time to kind of reflect and restructure the team that I'm trying to build as far as real estate. So it's really, there's a lot of things happening in the EXP corporate space movement, a lot of things that are brewing, a lot of really exciting things on the real estate front that are going to be shared. And then it just really provides a lot of motivation to building, the team and group and all of that. So it's great. It's been a lot of thinking, restructuring, can't wait to share more. And then media wise, still booking a lot of listing photo shoots, still doing a lot of TC work. So the business is out there. Our team is kicking ass. So I see everything that you guys are doing, and I'm so proud of y'all because I'm like, damn, this team's good. And Armando with his listings, and Jennifer with her closings, and Liz with all of her stuff. So you guys are doing fantastic.
Awesome. Well, I know Josie might need to tune off, but I wanted her to chime in and let us know what's going on. And on our end, things are good. We have some buyer clients that are finally, doing what they've been saying they were going to do, coming through and upholding their end of the bargain, right? That's part of what we do is we have to not only set them up for success, but we need to hope that they come through and hope that they do their part. Get the lender the information they need. Don't go out there and buy a car. Don't go out and co-sign for, a motorcycle for your son. Like, don't do any of that stuff. You got to hold up your end of the bargain too. So we have some buyers that are finally coming through, and things are looking solid. We have a couple listings coming up, one in McAllen, one in Edinburg. Had my first couple closings for some Edinburg properties, so that's going well, but still very active in Brownsville and Harlingen. So things are popping. So thank goodness, and we just got to keep it moving. So yeah. What else do y'all want to talk about? Wanted to just kind of open it up for Q&A. If there's any kind of trials that you're going through, any kind of hard stuff, what
Yeah,
have y'all been seeing out there, and what can we kind of shed some light that you might be going through that maybe can help some agents that are going to be tuning into this? So what are some of the things that we can help you with, or some of the situations that you want to talk about or elaborate on a little bit more?
I mean, we are not short of situations, are we?
No. There's a lot of situations. I feel like
There's a lot of situations. So
every
if
hour
any,
there's more situations, right? It's
all the time, even like when you're on a showing and you have a really weird Jennifer, like you're showing one time when you were at that house and it was like overgrown and with the fence and like I've never run into that situation before, but no, yeah, like Alan said, any questions, any situations, anything that we can share with each other to help us all kind of navigate anything like that.
Well, Alan said specifically new client or agents, excuse me. And as a new agent, I was grateful this week that I reached out to both of you guys because I had that offer that's thankfully by paying attention in the paperwork and the wording sounded off. And I couldn't nail it down. I wasn't sure what sounded off. I just knew something sounded off. And learning that new agents are trying to think of the politically correct way. I can't
They're
think of one, but
They're
basically
targeted.
they're
preyed on.
targets. They're
They're
targets.
Yeah, like
targeted.
Just say yeah.
targeted. Yeah, okay. I was trying to think of the PC word, but anyways,
That's all right.
they're targeted. I was unaware, and I learned a very good lesson. But definitely, like when you're new, check in, check in, check in.
Right.
But
So, yeah, so
um,
Armando and Liz, to kind of bring y'all up to speed, what Jennifer was presented with was a wholesaler who was trying to, and right, Armando snickers right away because I'm sure he understands a lot of these wholesalers and a lot of these, not saying anything bad about wholesalers or investors. Okay. Well, let me just preface it with that. But there are a lot of people that see an agent that's new to the business and right away they want to start putting them through their paces. I want to submit an offer on these 20 properties. I need 15 CMAs by the end of the day. I need you to run comps on these, I need ARVs on all these properties. And what came across Jennifer's desk was a wholesaler who was asking Jennifer to submit an offer on behalf of the wholesaler's partner, who both of these wholesalers were licensed agents. So right away, red flags come up. You're like, what's going on here? Now, I don't know the exact structure of what was happening, but Armando, I'm sure you can probably shed some light on this since you probably deal or have dealt with some situations like this. But what my gut was telling me was they were trying to have Jennifer submit an offer on behalf of one of the wholesalers or one of the actual quote unquote buyer. So that way she could represent that buyer and they could bypass going through broker fees and all that other kind of stuff. And they could just streamline the whole thing. Whereas the gentleman that contacted Jennifer had the house under contract as the first position buyer slash seller. So they were going to be selling the paper. They wanted Jennifer to represent the buyer. The gentleman that contacted Jennifer was going to sell the contract. They were going to make money on the transaction, and Jennifer was going to be in the middle, which is actually
Illegal.
it's a form of sub agency and it's a form of dual agency, which is illegal in Texas, number one. And you always have to wonder, what is a licensed agent reaching out to me for to submit an offer on their behalf? So it was
but
really,
it
really
wasn't
fishy.
that clear. I want to say that. Like it wasn't, he didn't say he was a realtor. He didn't say any of
No, he's
that.
not going to
I
tell
got,
you.
no, but what I'm saying is I got the person saying they were the buyer and they were pre-approved. And what didn't add up was the pre-approval letter when I saw it, the wording, and I was like, so nobody was like, I have other, like all the things Alan has said make sense now, but none of that was known knowledge.
Right.
And the good thing is, Jennifer, it's like you read it, it sounded fishy, it sounded like a red flag. You listened to your gut, you reached out to your resources, and then you were able to get some clarification on what's actually happening. But, until you actually have something like this come across your desk or you know of something happening like this to somebody it's like you're not going to know what's going on. So the fact that you were like, hey, this sounds fishy, this doesn't look right. Can you kind of help me out with this? Like that was the best thing you could do.
Yeah. So Armando, have you run across or have you done any wholesale deals on your end, either as a buyer, maybe if you're trying to buy something for either for the property itself, maybe just the land or for a fixer upper? Have you done anything with wholesalers through wholesalers? Do you have some experience with that?
Not necessarily. I mean, I could tell now when I get called up, I usually ask, "Oh, are you a wholesaler?" Like, yeah, like, okay, I know what you're trying to do. I
They
mean,
want free work.
if it's a legit offer, I mean, I'll send it to my, the listing or whatever. But yeah, you can kind of you feel it out. But I haven't dealt with one specifically. I actually worked with one a listing. I brought the buyer, and it was a wholesaler, but the wholesaler listed the property with an agent, and so we were able to kind of like work it out. But that was probably like my only like hands-on experience.
Yeah, and there's nothing weird about that. Most wholesalers and most real estate investors are actually not licensed.
Yeah,
So
but the fact that he was licensed, that's
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
And
exactly.
runs it through
So
an LLC and everything
yeah.
like that.
And really there's a lot of investment firms or a lot of investors or individuals that are trying to bypass all of the broker logistics by closing in their LLC or through their LLC, or they'll be paid through their LLC, which is, that's their prerogative. They can do that if they choose. Everyone has their own, they can operate however they choose. But to wrangle in, if you want to do that for yourself and you want to, kind of play that close to the chest, that's one thing. But for you to bring in another agent, and then that other agent is now in the mix, and now they're exposed, and now they're doing sub agency and dual agency and all, it makes everything into a bit of a mess.
It
So
Yeah,
makes the waters really muddy.
I will say that's one of the perks about EXP in general. I remember, dealing with another situation where I wasn't clear about my where my responsibilities laid, and I jumped on the world, spoke to a broker, and the guy was every time I speak to a broker in the world, they're like super informative and knowledgeable, and he just kind of set me on the right path. So anytime I feel like shaky or unsure, uh, I'm just amazed at how like quick a broker resource is available like at your fingertips.
for
So,
sure,
I
yeah,
love
yeah,
yeah.
that.
no,
So
yeah,
yeah,
you're right. You're right. It's something that you really can't find anywhere else. I used to have to schedule an appointment with my broker whenever I needed to talk to him, and
yeah,
sometimes it would be days before I could get in for an appointment. And who understands, right? Whenever you need a broker's assistance, when do you need it? Right now. I need help
yeah.
now, soon, right? Something's going on, something's feeling weird, so to be able to have that support is super, super
And
valuable. And Armando, thank you for sharing that. I think there's a lot of people that forget, or maybe they don't know how to do it, but get into the world. That's the best resource for all of us. So
And
get
that's
into the
also
world that
a
can help you.
great like conversation piece for agent attraction too, because a lot of people who come from, independent brokerages, that's one of the feedback responses we get right away. It's like, well, I heard you guys are virtual, so you can't get in touch with a broker at all. And it's like you don't know our platform because they're always there, you know?
They're
It's like,
literally waiting for us to come in there. I mean,
I
it's
know.
it's a
Yeah.
funny, funny kind of thing.
and props to Jennifer because the first year, if I was a first year agent, I probably wouldn't have noticed anything. I would have just been like, all right, yeah, whatever.
You're like, let's do it. Let's just let
Yeah,
the good
yeah,
times
whatever,
roll.
man. Whatever you want me to do. I was so
Let's
hungry for clients. I'd be like, yeah, 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 yeah.
Well,
I
the other
will.
the other the other thing that Jennifer, she sent me an email. She said, "Take a look at this." It was one of those, who here has gotten the emails? We have a creative financing opportunity for you, right? We get tens and hundreds of those emails. And Jennifer got it and she said, "Hey, someone wants to submit an offer on my listing." And she sent it over. I said, "Well, an offer is going to be a legit offer. It has to be a contract. It has to be a contract. If it's not a contract, it's not an offer." Right? So I said, "Well, you can try to, if you want to entertain this, you can, but they need to submit a legitimate offer, and it needs to be on a promulgated form. That's the only way. Because how many times, and if you haven't run into this, you will. How many of you guys have communicated an offer that was sent either via email or via text, and you say, well, that's an offer. I'm going to communicate it. You communicate it to the seller. The seller says, Let's go for it. You go to the buyer and say, okay, well, let's go ahead and put a formal offer together. And either one, they vanish. Two, they change the terms completely. Three, when you get the offer, it's nothing what they said, right? So a verbal offer is not worth much, so we need it in writing. We need an actual Texas promulgated form. So, but yeah, that's another learning lesson. We get all those, we get, these guys, they say, well, we want, we're going to give you 5% down. And we want to pay 0% interest. And it's like, that's a heck of an offer. That's a heck of a stance. I appreciate your offer or communication of maybe submitting an offer, but until we get something in writing, and then of course once we get it in writing, it's our duty to present it. We can't withhold any offers, even if they're crappy offers. We have to present it to the seller no matter what it is, but we also need it to be a legit offer.
I always admired the audacity and their confidence to even ask it. I'm just like, well, I admire your confidence for asking. I could
And
never ask for
and
that.
and maybe if they submit a couple hundred of those, maybe they'll get one or two that say, "Let's do it."
Speaking of confidence, I have to give a shout out to Jennifer because Jennifer, the Valley, the majority of the listings will offer 2% buyer's agent commission. And Jennifer will always have the conversation with her buyer client that her fee is 3%. And she always manages to get the additional 1% from her buyer. Like she does not, say, okay, well, they're offering 2%, so I'm going to settle for two, and a lot of the times, in my personal situations, like I'm too afraid to ask for three, or, I just ask, well, what are they offering? It's like two. I need to be more ballsy and say, okay, and then talk to my buyer client. But that's something about Jennifer that I've always noticed is, she's like, oh, well, they're offering two, but the buyer rep has three. They're okay with the 1%. And I'm just like, how does she do that? Like what conversations is she asking? So I admire your confidence for having that conversation, because I'm just like, oh, you're offering two? Okay, great. Let me put two, So I'm like, we need a class from Jennifer on how to ask for that other 1%.
I was
But
thinking next time we do the XP meetup, she should totally like walk
I
us through that
know.
process.
Yeah, well, give us the cliff notes, Jennifer. What are the conversations that you're having with your buyers to outline that and handle the objection and have them expect that as part of your service proposition?
Sure. Um, I prefer to meet them in person. That always goes over much better. So sitting down, talking with them, and then I have my specific questions. What are their goals? What are their timelines? And then I try to lay out a strategy to meet those. And in laying out the strategy, that's when I present the 3% commission. And I explain to them that you will work really hard for them. I'll be proactive. We'll have very open communication. And I have yet for someone, I do explain to them right away that, as Josie said, usually the sellers only offer to cover 2%, and that means that they might end up paying the 1%. But I do explain to them that I will negotiate in the contract trying to have my 1% covered, but that the odds are it might not be. And I have yet for anyone to really be unhappy with it. So if it was going to kill a deal, I would be willing to change, because I really enjoy working with people. And but that's the other thing I do. I like to meet with them, and then when they ask why they want to meet in person first, because I explain to them, like, you don't know me from anyone, but I also don't know you. And while you're interviewing me, I'm also interviewing you. And I do say that.
That's awesome. I mean, that
I
was
dig it.
a master class in and
I
of
know.
itself. I mean, that was
Well,
awesome.
no.
No, I
So
love
yeah,
that.
very,
Well,
very
no, I'm
cool.
just learning. I like people, but I'm learning it's a long process and there's a lot of stress. So you need to make sure that you guys like work well together.
For sure.
I
100%.
dig it. Thank you.
And
Yeah,
then
and go ahead,
the
Armando.
the 1% usually comes like you talk to the lender, or how does that come out from the buyers?
So I've talked to the seller agent. Um, they're usually never willing, and which is fine. It's expected. And then with the seller's commissions, I start the negotiations and I try to throw in the 1% on top of if they're doing FHA's 3.5, I'll try to throw in 4.5, 5% and just start the negotiations.
Yeah,
I
so I
really
mean,
like negotiations.
yeah,
I
so
really
did you
do.
say you like negotiations?
I do. I really
Great.
like, to me, I'm
Shoot.
like, ooh, I'm like, this is the good part.
That's good. That's well, I mean, that's a great stance on it. So, you know, you can try to maneuver it into the seller concessions if you want, you know, as long as you handle the conversation with the buyers. It's like, hey, and really the conversation could go, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I'm going to try to get as much of my broker fee covered by the seller as I can. But in the case that I'm not able to get it all covered, you will be responsible for paying the difference as per my buyer representation agreement. We can factor in whatever the difference is into seller concessions, but just be aware that that 1% will be accounted for. In other words, if it's a $250,000 house, the seller's paying 2%, the 1% is still outstanding. If we request a $7,500 concession from the seller and they agree, the actual concession that you will be receiving, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, for your closing costs is 5,000. The 2,500 in that seller concession, instead of you having to pay it, we're going to have the seller pay for it. But instead of it being a broker fee outlined in the contract, it's going to come from the seller concessions. So you can do that as long as the buyer is aware. Now, I have been in situations where buyers are not happy with that. And they say, well, if I'm going to get the concession from the seller, then shouldn't that entire concession be able to be used either for my closing costs or for my interest rate buy down or whatever? Now, that's a separate conversation. You can discuss that further with the buyers if you want. But in most cases, buyers are going to say, well, as long as I don't have to pay for it. You know what I mean? So if you factor it in as a seller concession, an additional seller concession to take care of that additional 1%, as long as the buyer is aware and they're okay with it, and I would recommend getting it in an email with them saying, hey, that's cool with us. So that way, in case you do have any kind of pushback, you have something to back you up. So yeah, you can do
I
it.
did
Now,
do
now you
that.
could do it as a lender credit, Armando, too, if you want. I mean, that could work, but you have to make sure that the lender is cool with that, you know, and you have to make sure that there's no violations or anything. Because sometimes the lender,
I make sure it's really clear
yeah,
and I lay out the strategy. And when I'm laying out the strategy, that's always just exactly like I tell them exactly, we'll ask for this much, and that's to cover this and that and this. And then if anything changes, always every little thing, my buyers are aware of every little thing. And then I'm learned, even with title, when you get that group email and it has your buyer, your seller, everybody, I also put it in the email. Like everyone's aware of it. Nobody's confused or
yeah,
blindsided. And even with that, that's what I have at the title company recently is they messed up and they didn't put my 1% in, and they had said they had closed it, and I said, well, we need to fix it, and they gave me a hard time. But I'll say this from my buyer, that's what I told, because I was almost willing to just, I said, there's a problem with just eating it because the brokerage, EXP would still be like, where is this? So it did need to really get fixed. But I'm letting you know, like, I was willing to just be like, I'm not going to I'm not going to do anything that would hurt my buyer, ever, ever. So, but he was exceptionally understanding, and he was like, you know what, I'll just wire that money. I had planned for it. We had talked about it. It's, and so he said, I'll just wire that money. And I'll take care of it.
That's awesome.
That's a great buyer.
Well,
Yeah.
and
We
really
were both frustrated,
yeah,
but
they wouldn't have been so willing to do it if you wouldn't have done a good job, which
Exactly.
you obviously did a fantastic job. So that's where it really boils down to.
Definitely. No, this
Yeah.
is great.
So
I'm gonna have to
yeah.
pop
So
off, guys, but I
go ahead.
really, I'm gonna have to pop off, but I really appreciate the feedback. I appreciate everything that I've learned here today. It's been a great session for me. You guys stay on. I have to pop off, but thank you for spending your Tuesday with me.
All right. Thanks, Josie.
Can we meet her at the World?
I know, right? Yeah, she has her offices there in the world. And yeah, she has a lot of responsibility. She's dealing on the HR side and she's kicking butt and she has back to back calls and so she has a lot going on her end. But she's very, very good at it. She's good in the HR field. So cool. Any other questions? Liz, how's everything going on your end? Any other questions? Armando, anything y'all want to talk about? Jennifer? We got a few more minutes here before we need to pop off.
Just really quick, open houses. I would, I think they changed the rules recently on signs on where open house. I don't do a whole lot of open houses, but um, when the next one, comes around, have you heard anything about that in San Antonio? Where now they're just allowed on the actual property that's for sale on private property.
I I have heard that. I don't know the exact, what the new ordinance is, but I have heard that now you can face, fines for placing open house signs that aren't. And I mean, it's always been a challenge in San Antonio, like in places like Stone Oak and places like, those areas, they've always been anti open houses. I mean, they not anti open houses, but the signage, the actual
Mm-hmm.
signage. And they would have people going around, just driving around the area, picking up signs. But now I think there is, some penalty involved. So I don't know the exact ordinance list, but what are you seeing or what have you read or what are you hearing?
So about 2 years ago, I did do an open house in Cibolo, and the city removed all my signs. I had just started my open house, so I was like the first 15 minutes into it, somebody knocked on the door, and I was excited, thinking I already had a visitor, but it wasn't. It was the city. They left all the signs at the front door. He removed every
God,
single sign, said it was not allowed, and that I could put them all day long on the private property in the front yard if I wanted to, but not anywhere else. Um, I asked him if there's any way around this, if there's something that I can do. And he goes, well, you can go and go to the city and request permission to get the signs on for an open house, but they will only allow 2 signs. So 2 signs is hard to direct someone to the home if it's not 2 turns, right? So that one was kind of a bust, and I just saw something recently. So I mean, it was a warning. I wasn't penalized that time for it, but it could have been a penalty, right? A fee. But I don't want to run into that. I think I read. I have to go look into this a little bit more because that makes it a lot more difficult for open houses because that, in my opinion, is the easiest way to get in front of people. Um, all in one place. They come to you at that point. So, but yeah, I'll find out about it. I'll start asking around because I think they are getting strict on it. I have also noticed that um, No, we cannot put them on the streets or curbs. No, nowhere. Not even between, let's just, for example, say there's, the house you want to do an open house on is, it's the yard, and then there's a sidewalk in front of the yard, and then there's a little piece of grass beyond the sidewalk. We can't even put them there. They don't allow that. We just can put them on the actual the property, the private property. I thought it was bizarre. I thought it was a little strict there, you know. Um, but yeah, they're making it a little bit more complicated. I do know some agents leave signs behind. I don't know if that's a reason why they're doing this, because it's just more cleanup and pickup for the city. I don't know. Or if there's something else beyond that.
Right. So, um, what I would say is to really analyze what the purpose of an open house really is, right? I remember when I first started, I was working open houses for builders, and they used to tell me all the time that my signs and directionals were super important, and they were. You know, Armando has worked a lot of open houses. I'm sure he can shed some light on it, but the reality in my experience has been the directionals are good, but if you really step back and look at the flip side of that coin, the objective of open houses is to get in front of either potential buyers, potential sellers, or both. Okay. What I would say, and I think this is the case in every aspect of real estate, there's always going to be new regulations. There's always going to be new contracts. There's always going to be new, and the agents that continue to try to fight the way it's been and everything, they're the ones that are always left behind. It's the ones that adapt. So what I would say to you, Liz, is take this as an opportunity to pivot on that. Okay. If you can't put directionals, that doesn't mean that you should stop doing open houses. If you can't put directionals, what does that do for you as an agent? It actually makes you have to interact more with the people that you should be interacting with in the first place, which is the people around that open house. Now, I think there's two ways that you can do it. I'm sure there's more, but two that come to mind. Number one, most people go to open houses because they see your open house online. Whether it's through Zillow, Trulia, a realtor, whatever, they see that there's an open house that's in an area that they're looking at, and they're going to go to your open house, whether there are signs or not. So number one, you have to make sure it's online. Number two, you can target ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, whatever, target ads around that specific open house. Okay. A lot of agents say, well, I've never done that. And I understand. Believe me, I don't know if you've ever tried to do Facebook ads or meta advertising. It's very cumbersome and it's very difficult. But if you can get into that game, it's going to help you in every other aspect of your business. Okay. So target social media ads in that area. And then I guess this is a third one. Number three, get in front of the people. What have y'all ever heard that term, the 5-5-10? Okay, you have your subject open house. You talk to 5 houses over here, 5 houses over here, and the 10 in front. And you just invite them to the open house. Have some flyers, have some brochures. Now you're having in-depth conversations with people in the area. They know that you're working the area, which is important. They know that you're trying to get the property sold in that neighborhood. They know that you have active buyers, which is very important for every seller. Sellers want to know that they're working with an agent that might have a buyer that can get their house sold quickly. So it might force you out of your comfort zone a little bit, but it's going to pay a lot more dividends for you. Instead of just posting signs on the curb of, Redland Road or whatever, a super busy street, people will see it and maybe they'll turn, maybe they won't, maybe they will, maybe they won't. Now you're being super intentional with your promotion for an open house. Nobody's saying that you can't leave door hangers. Nobody's saying that you can't go drop invitations, and I know a lot of people that say no soliciting, and I see it all the time. I've been yelled at before. You know what I mean? They say, get out. They yell at me from the door, right? I'm not interested. And they yell. It's like, okay, well, move on to the next. You want to take it further? Don't do 5, 5, 10. Do 20, 20, 40. Do 50 houses. Do 100 houses in the neighborhood. Now you've had 100 conversations personally inviting people to your open house. And yes, it's a little more legwork. It's a little more, it's a time commitment. I know it's hot out there, but it's an opportunity to how many of us have worked open houses with 0 people visiting? I can't even tell you how many I've done with 0 visitors. And who does that benefit? Nobody. But when you're there, shoot a video at the house, do a virtual tour, say, I'm here in the neighborhood. At least put something out there. Put something out there, get something out there, get a piece of media, get some B-roll, get a video, take care of some admin work, use your hotspot, set up there in the kitchen, do something. How many of you guys as agents have gone into other agents' open houses and the agent that's holding it is just there twiddling their thumbs? How many of y'all have been in open houses and the agent working the open house doesn't even talk to you at all? That's happened to me. I can't even tell you how many times. It's like, what are y'all even doing here? Y'all don't know I'm an agent. You didn't even come talk to me. They're like, oh yeah, go show yourself around. Like, I guess they're fans of wasting their own time. I don't know. Maybe they think they're busy because they're there, but they're not doing anything. So anyway, I think it gives you an opportunity. Maybe you can't put the signage, but hey, Liz, get a big flag. Put a big old flag that says open house in front of the house. And then shoot a video of you putting the flag, take photos and post it online. A lot of different things you can do. I don't think agents should ever stop doing open houses because I do think there's value. And again, most people are going to go to your open house because they see it online. They're going to see it on Zillow. They're going to see it on Realtor. And you can ask people, how did you hear about it? And say, oh, I saw it online. Very few people in all the open houses I've ever done, they say, well, I followed your signs. Sometimes they follow the signs, but whether or not everyone is a good lead. I'm not saying that there are good leads, bad leads. Everyone is a good contact. But are they really interested and are you having a meaningful conversation with them? That's the most important thing, in my opinion. What do y'all think? Armando used to hold open houses every weekend. You might still be doing, no, he was hosting open houses on some of his properties, right? You'd be there every weekend, sometimes for
Yeah, every
months.
weekend I would do one flag on the entrance of the subdivision, one flag on the property, and that was about it.
Yeah.
I didn't have any directional signs. I always wanted to invest in it, but it I did get people driving around, like people who were interested in that subdivision. They were already circling the block, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we saw your flag. We on the property," and they walked in. So, I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
So yeah, if you can still put signs in the front yard, don't just put one sign, put a 12-foot flag.
Yeah.
Put a big old flag, I mean, why not? Make it a fiasco. Make it, give it some. There was one open house I went to. There was a builder, uh, and I think it was in Brownsville. Anyway, he had one of those JBL speakers, the big ones, the ones that you can mount that has like two 12s in it or whatever. He left the door open, put the speaker on the front porch, and started blasting. I mean, he was blasting music for 4 hours, loud. Talk about getting attention. Maybe the neighbors reported him. I don't know, but he didn't care. He's like, hey, if I need to get attention, and he had flags and he had streamers and balloons and all this stuff. So do what you got to do. If they say, well, I'm going to take your directionals and say, fine, I don't need them. I'm going to find another way to do it. So get in front of those people, go door to door, put the door hangers, advertise on online, take out $10, $20 worth of Facebook ads, and get the message out there.
Good stuff.
Cool. Cool. All right, guys. Well, it's almost 11 o'clock. I know everyone has stuff to do today, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank y'all for tuning in. We had a great session, and we'll see y'all next Tuesday. All right, guys? Y'all go out there, go sell something. Talk to you soon. Thank y'all.